Seriously? Hello everyone! In this video we're going to look at why American spelling is better than British spelling. Now, just in case you think I'm biased, I'd like to preface this by saying that I'm Australian and I therefore predominantly use British spelling. Writing with American spelling for me just feels a little wrong. A bit like driving on the right side of the road or going to the toilet without washing my hands. It just feels a little unnatural to me because it's not what I was brought up with. That being said, objectively speaking, I do believe that American spelling is a bit more logical than British spelling. Now, I don't want to turn this video into a history lesson, but let's quickly look at why there even are differences in English spelling. Up until the mid-18th century, English spelling was very inconsistent, and there were often multiple ways to spell certain words. Then, in 1755, Samuel Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language was published, and that basically became the text to follow for British spelling. And then, in 1828, a dictionary by Noah Webster called An American Dictionary of the English Language was published. That established the norms for American spelling. It is often thought that Noah Webster came up with the different spellings himself. But for the most part, he selected spellings that already existed. That being said, one of his aims was to make English spelling a little simpler. So he chose the more phonetic spellings for certain words. So without further ado, let's now have a look at the main differences between British and American spelling. The one that many people would probably think of first is the OUR and OR ending. Words that end in OUR in British spelling often just end in OR in American spelling. For example, armor, behavior, color, favor, flavor, harbor, honor, humor, labor, neighbor, rigor, rumor, splendor. Another famous difference is the RE/ER ending. Many words that end in RE in British spelling end in ER in American spelling. Let's face it, it's more phonetic. Some examples: center, fiber, liter, meter, somber, theatre. The next difference is in words that end in ISE or IZE. This rule is a little more flexible because sometimes IZE is also used in the UK, but generally speaking, ISE is British and IZE is American. You'll see this in many verbs. For example, civilize, energize, minimize, optimize, organize, privatize, realize. And you'll see the same pattern in many corresponding nouns. So, civilization, minimization, organization, realization, etc. A similar rule applies to words ending in yse and yze, such as analyze and paralyze. Seeing as the S in these words is pronounced Z, I think it makes a lot more sense to spell them with a Z. There are also some words in which ENCE becomes ENSE. For example, defense, license, offense, pretense. In the case of license, in British spelling it has an S if it's the verb. So this is the noun and this is the verb. In American spelling, it's always with an S. And there are some words from which the final E is dropped in American spelling. Because, well, it's not pronounced, and it doesn't give us any clues as to how the rest of the word is pronounced. Sometimes an E at the end of a word gives us a clue as to how the rest of the word is pronounced. For example, TAP is pronounced tap. But if you put an E at the end, it is pronounced tape. WIN is pronounced win, but WINE is pronounced wine. And sometimes an E, like in the word axe, tells us nothing. In other words, it's pretty useless. This happens in words like annex, axe, gram, program, ton. Although this isn't really a consistent rule because the American spellings are now sometimes used in the UK, and the word axe is sometimes spelt with an E in American English. Next we have a group of words that come from Latin and ancient Greek. The AE in these words in British spelling is reduced to just E in American spelling. Most of these are medical or scientific terms. Eon, aesthetic, anemia, anesthesia, gynecologist, pediatrician. There are also some words from Latin and ancient Greek that have an OE in British spelling and just an E in American spelling. For example, diarrhea, gonorrhea, esophagus. And finally, let's look at some words that are different, but that don't follow some sort of rule. Aeroplane or airplane. Artifact, check, checkered, cozy, donut, draft, gauge, grey, jewelry, judgment, licorice, mold, plow, skeptical, sulfur, tire. And a final word. At the beginning of the video, you might remember that I showed you this. Hiccup. Yes, this is how hiccup is sometimes spelt in British English. Although it should be noted that the American spelling is also used in the UK. There are a few more differences between British and American spelling, but I think I've covered the most important patterns as well as a good portion of the random words. You can tell me what I've missed in the comments. People always do. What do you think? Is American spelling more logical than British spelling? Let me know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up, and why not share it with your friends. See you next time. That established have planes. One of his aims, now sirens, and then so this is for example, okay,